Did you miss me? Because I missed you guys. Welcome back, YouTube family. It is your girl, Sade, and welcome to Sade's Mix. If you're new here, hi, grab a snack, get a drink. We have a good time here. And if you're returning, thank you so much. You don't know how much I appreciate it. I am so sorry that I have been gone. You know, life has just kind of reared its ugly little head, and between school and a career change, and a relationship and, you know, just regular schmegular stuff, I have just been completely overwhelmed, and I had to put YouTube on the back burner just so that I didn't literally lose my mind. But I'm back, and I do have another true crime story for you guys, of course. Today we are going to discuss from the title, Jeffrey Macdonald. If you have heard of him, then you know how fascinating this story is. And if you haven't heard of him, no worries. Like I said, grab a snack, sit down. It's going to be a great time between us. However, before I get into the actual video, if you guys are interested in true crime stories or my life here in South Florida and its beautiful hidden gems, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to turn on all notifications. So yes, I upload on Sundays, and if you enjoy any one of my videos, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, you know, because that helps me out and everything. And I do want to also say, so sorry, two things. So before we get into video, so sorry that I haven't been doing any hidden gems. Now the reason for that, and I'm gonna be very transparent, is because I'm freaking terrified of the outside world with COVID. And if you don't know, I live in Florida and it is a nightmare here. And another thing is I'm just trying to be frugal with my money, with my career change, and I don't want to spend a lot of money. And then what if this flops? You know, the worst case scenario thinking. But as soon as everything is finalized and locked in, I promise to share a lot of the hidden gems. I have a list, tons and tons of places I can't wait to show you guys. And I just want to also say I hit 100 subscribers. As of today, I hit 100 subscribers. I actually have 103 subscribers. So thank you guys for all the comments, liking, sharing, subscribing. I absolutely appreciate it, and I am so excited. I can't wait for that number to keep growing. I'm manifesting it in my mind. We're gonna be monetized by the end of next year. Like, that's my goal. So yeah, thank you so much, of course. And you know, enough of my rambling. Let's get into today's story. Today's true crime story has intrigued many people for the past 50 years. Jeffrey's case has inspired a bestseller book, a top-rated TV movie series, and countless coverage about this crime. Personally, I had never heard of the Jeffrey Macdonald story. However, I do remember years ago actually watching the movie Fatal Vision, which I watched recently for this video. And I can honestly say it is one of the most fascinating cases because there's no motive. There is no motive. And also, you try to understand how someone who seemed to have it all and have really no issues just ruin their lives, you know. Of course, I will let you guys decide if he is innocent or not, and I will also link the movie in the description box down below. I highly recommend it, although it is from 1980, so it's kind of grainy and funny looking, but overall, the way that they display his true emotions and his behavior, his mannerism, it definitely paints Jeffrey in a different light. So please go ahead and check it out down below. And you know, like I said, grab a snack, relax, and let's talk about Jeffrey Macdonald. So I said his name 1,000 times already. So who the hell is Jeffrey Macdonald? Well, Jeffrey was born on October 12th of 1943, making baby boy a Libra. Now, if y'all new here, hi, once again. But if you remember, I did a video on Dahlia Dipoloti I will link it above and in the description box down below as well. She was the young woman from Florida who hired an undercover cop unknowingly to basically kill her husband. And she is also a Libra, so it ain't looking too good out there for you Libras. Hopefully in the next video I won't have to mention you guys. Oh, hi besties. So I'm just gonna stop right here and apologize for the terrible lighting that is in this video. I am trying to figure out how to get the best lighting in a 1-bedroom apartment with a whole bunch of shit in it. So yeah. But I just wanted to like quickly apologize and just know that I am working on a better plan. Okay, back to editing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And don't forget to subscribe and like. Okay, bye. Anyway, Jeffrey was said to have been born into a poor family out in Long Island, New York. His father, who went by the name of Robert, was said to be a very strict man who demanded perfection and obedience from his family. By the time that he was in high school, Jeffrey was making a name for himself. He was already voted most popular and most likely to succeed. And honestly, that's exactly what Jeffrey did. While still in high school, he was able to earn a 3-year scholarship to Princeton University. So Jeffrey here was young, smart, and handsome. Sometime in the 8th grade, Jeffrey would go on to meet and date Colette Stevenson's. They dated for a little over a year, and Colette would actually end the relationship, but luck would have it, within a few years, the two would actually rekindle their relationship. While Jeffrey was in Princeton, he would send romantic love letters to Colette, just trying to woo her off her feet. But while he was doing this, he was still dating other women. So although he's trying to win Colette's heart, he's still playing the field like a playboy. And it really wasn't until Colette fell? That's not the right word. It wasn't until Colette became pregnant that he wound up ending the relationship with the other girl. So thanks, I guess. Now, Colette here, Colette. I just love that name. It's not a name that you hear often, and it's just so pretty. Colette was born on May 10th of 1944, making her a Taurus. Her parents were Mildred and Edward. Sadly, Edward would take his own life when Colette was around the age of 10 or 11. After her husband passing, Mildred would go on to meet and marry a wonderful man by the name of Freddie Kassab. Now, Freddie here, he's the glue to this story, honestly. Freddie was in a Canadian Army intelligence who had lost his whole family in World War II. He adored Colette, and they were extremely close. Freddie would say that Colette would never allow anyone to call Freddie stepdad, that was her father, and this bond would play a key role for their story. Now, back to the two lovebirds. It's 1960 and Colette is pregnant, and having a baby out of wedlock is hella taboo. Like, that ain't happening. Like, you are going to be shunned, or there's something wrong with you guys. You know how it is. I really feel like anything during that time was hella taboo, but this was like the ultimate, oh hell no, you know? So my assumption is that in order to prevent all the shame and ridicule that they would have experienced, the two decided to do what pretty much everyone did at the time. They got married, and on September 14th of 1963, that's exactly what the two did. And it was said that they had a very small wedding. There was about 100 people there. And within 7 months of their wedding, so on April 17th of 1964, the family would welcome their first daughter, Kimberly Catherine. And just 3 years later, on May 8th of 1968, the family would welcome their second baby girl, Christian Jean. Now, while the family is growing, Jeffrey is still in school, and once he finished his scholarship from Princeton, he would relocate the family to Chicago in the summer of 1965. So this was before Christian was born, the youngest, where Jeffrey was accepted to Northwestern University's medical school. And here he would finish his undergrad and go to medical school simultaneously. Jeffrey would go on and graduate from medical school in 1968, and once again, he relocated the family to Jersey. The reason for this move now was he was still finalizing the last little bit of medical school that he had, and he was able to obtain a 1-year internship at a very prestigious hospital in New York, Columbian Presbyterian Medical Center. He was going there because Jeffrey here was in the process of becoming a surgeon, and his specialization was thoracic surgery. And you're probably wondering, like, why the hell is this important to the story? Trust me, this is very vital to the story. And just to kind of give you like a general understanding of what thoracic surgeons do, they are pretty much a group of like heart surgeons. They operate on the heart, lungs, esophagus, and major blood vessels located inside the chest, as well as the bony structure. So remember that, because it is vital to this story as well. And we're getting to that right now. Now, after finishing his 1-year internship and finishing medical school and becoming accomplished in many ways, Jeffrey decides that he is going to enlist in the U.S. Army. You know, he is just wanting to do it all. And I could not understand the reason why he wanted to enlist. From the interviews that I've watched from him, he never mentioned the reason why. I did find a couple articles, and his explanation in the articles was that this was the time of the Vietnam War. People were on high alert. People were getting drafted day in and day out, and he felt like he needed to be a part of the change. So it seemed like he had a noble cause in mind, and that he really wanted to help people. Yeah, Jeffrey wanted to enlist in the U.S. Army, and that's exactly what he did. This decision, of course, kept him away from his family for a couple weeks. But after training, Jeffrey was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and by the August of 1969, the family was back together. In the 6 years of their marriage, Jeffrey had to do a lot of odd jobs just to keep the family afloat, and there were many times where they were not financially secure. So it finally felt like they had beat the odds. So yeah, so everything just seemed to be going well. And then February 17th of 1970 came, and police dispatchers on the Fort Bragg Army base would receive an urgent call from Jeffrey. The responding police officers were able to get to the Macdonald's residence within 5 minutes, and upon arrival, they realized that they can't enter the front door, so the officers decided to head to the back and enter the household through the back door. When they get to the back door, they realize that the door is ajar. They take out their weapons, and as soon as they walk into the household, the very first thing that they see is that they see Colette laying on the floor. She is basically face up, and Jeffrey is laying right next to her. It was said that the floor was soaked in blood, and Colette laid there dead. So did their 5-year-old Kimberly and their 2-year-old Kristen in their bedrooms nearby. Now, Jeffrey, however, was injured, but he was still alive, so he was immediately rushed to a local hospital. It was a terrible scene. There was blood everywhere, and the police were asking themselves, who could have done such a savage attack on this family? I also failed to mention, and I'm so sorry, at the time of the assault, Colette was actually 4 months pregnant, and she was actually carrying Jeffrey's first son. Colette was a mess. She had been repeatedly bashed with the club. Both of her arms were broken in several places, and she had been stabbed a total of 37 times with both a knife and an ice pick. All the weapons that were used against the family was actually found outside on the back door, kind of hidden in some brush. And the police found that very odd, but they needed to kind of secure the crime scene. Jeffrey was found with his PJ bottoms only. His top was placed on top of Colette's chest, and in the bedroom, or excuse me, in the master bedroom, on the headboard, there was a word. It was the word pigs, and it was written in Colette's blood. And these poor babies, as I stated, were found in their own bedrooms. Kimberly was stabbed in the neck between 8 to 10 times, and the baby Kristen, she was stabbed 33 times with both the knife and the ice pick. Side note, this story is heavy, right? And I'm just kind of glazing over it. And this story reminds me of the Darlie Routier story. Hey besties, I'm just gonna quickly step in and kind of clarify what I meant about the Darlie Routier situation. If you guys are not familiar, I did actually do a video. I called it The Intruder in the Home. I will of course link it here and in the description box down below. But I found so many similarities between Darlie's story and Jeffrey's story, and now it makes me kind of think, is it possible that Darlie could truly be guilty of this crime? If you guys are interested in Darlie's story, please don't forget to, look at that video, comment, like, subscribe to my channel. And if you guys are still here, I have a question for you guys. What do you like and not like? What stories you want me to do in the future, of course. You can leave that in the comment section down below. And let's get back to the video. Let's get back to Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey, he's at the hospital, and the attending physicians were under the impression that Jeffrey was going to be walking in and be battered and bruised like his family was. But this wasn't the case. Jeffrey had very superficial injuries. He did have a knot on the top of his right eye, and he did have a couple of cuts and bruises. He also had a punctured lung, but the attending physician kept mentioning that his wounds seemed very superficial and were clean and sharp. Unlike a stabbing victim, something's not adding up. Something ain't right. Now, compared to his family, as I stated, his injuries were superficial, but somehow or another, Jeffrey convinced the hospital to keep him for 9 days with a punctured lung, which I don't even know if they do that. I don't know. I should have looked that up. How long is, it doesn't matter. But at some point, not sure if this was before or after he was released from the hospital, he was actually questioned by the Criminal Investigation Division, the big dogs from the Army, and Jeffrey gave his side of the story.
Up till now, everything was totally normal. There was nothing unusual at all in our life that we were aware of. The next thing I knew, I was awakened on the couch, and I was awakened by a combination of hearing my wife screaming for help and asking for me, and my older daughter, 5-year-old, yelling, screaming for help, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And my wife was saying, Jeff, why are they doing this? Help, Jeff. And I started to push up. There was a little light on in the kitchen, which is a small apartment, and there was some light in the living room from this light in the kitchen. And there were, to my immediate view, 3 people. It turned out there were 4, but I saw 3 people, a black male, 2 white males. The black male had on an army jacket with E6 sergeant stripes. And in the ensuing struggle, there were 2 episodes of time, very, very brief, in which I saw what I took to be a white female in a broad floppy hat with stringy blonde hair. And I heard her say, "Acid is groovy, kill the pigs." I heard her say that more than once, and also the term acid and rain. It was raining outside at the time. But as I awakened on the couch, I didn't know what was going on. I heard my wife, I heard my daughter, and I saw these people, and I either said, and I to this day don't know if I said it or thought I was going to say it, "What the hell are you doing here? Who are you? What's going on?" And the black male to my left raised something, and he swung a club at me, and I threw my hand up, and he hit me in the head with a club, which I took to be a baseball bat. He drove me back to the couch that I was sleeping on, and now my head was ringing, and I was having a hard time getting up, and the comforter was still over my legs, but I pushed back up, and I'm trying to, and I was getting struck in the chest and about the head, and I threw my hand up again and took another blow to the side of the head. And during this time, I suddenly developed a real severe chest pain. And I remember real distinctly thinking to myself, this guy throws a hell of a punch. And I presume that was the stab wound that collapsed my lung. I don't know when it stopped. I heard her, and the voice rings in my ears to this day, so I don't know when it stopped.
So you're now cut and hit, and you're lying on the couch?
I didn't know I was being cut. I was, all of a sudden, in this struggle, I'm trying to push these people away and get up at the same time. I finally got my left leg on the floor, and that gave me a little leverage, and I started to move forward, and I finally grabbed the black male's arm as he swung it, and he kept jerking his arm away to pull the weapon away, and my hand kept sliding down on the weapon, which is how I know it was a baseball bat, because it was smooth.
Who called, then they left?
Well, the next thing I knew, I was tumbling towards the floor, and I saw the bare knee of what I took to be this white female, and I saw the top of boots. At the time, they were called go-go boots. They were light in color, and they were glistening like they were wet. When I came to, the house was silent, and my first memory, as strange as it sounds, is the smell of Johnson's floor wax. My face was on the floor, and to this day, if I walk in a room that's recently waxed, I get a very weird feeling. Because
did you call the MPs or the police? Or
when I went down into the master bedroom and found my wife brutally murdered, I tried to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. It didn't work, and eventually I made my way to 2 other bedrooms and found my children in the same state. I called the MPs.
So you're probably saying, yeah, he's guilty, open and shut case. It's Macdonald, bada book, bada bing. And I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, this is a no-brainer. He did it. There's no signs of forced entry. There's no this, there's no that. Like, this is him, right? Well, no. No. There were a lot of mistakes done by the responding officers and emergency workers. They had messed up, and due to this, it cast a lot of doubt in the quality of the investigation. Now, don't get it wrong, the Army investigation, they were very thorough, but they were still very careless. They meticulously collected fibers from clothing. They labeled blood samples. They collected other physical clues, but they made huge mistakes. Examiners failed to collect fingerprints from the children. Some fingerprints were destroyed. A piece of skin that was found on the Colette's fingernails disappeared. An ambulance driver stole Jeffrey's ID from the home, and then when they were taking Jeffrey out of the house, there was like a lot of debris on the floor, so they decided to like pick it up and move it around. Now, once they picked up the flower pot and put it upright, it added that the impression that the area was staged. Now, the crime scene errors casted doubt on the prosecution's case, and the Army conducted an Article 32 investigation. Basically, Article 32 is a trial-like hearing used in military justice systems to determine whether to court or marshal a service member accused of a crime. So basically, it's like their form of judge and jury without having to go through it. Now, this investigation would last 3 months. Multiple people came in support of Jeffrey. Even Colette's stepfather, Freddie Kassab, who was a ride or die for Jeffrey. He did not believe Jeffrey was capable of these crimes. He did not believe that Jeffrey would do this. He was Team Jeffrey. He would go on record saying, if I ever had another daughter, I still want the same son-in-law. Creepy, you know, okay. This is when the story starts to change. Not Jeffrey's story, but how and what was going on really starts to cast down in people's minds. Sometime in February, there was a young lady by the name of Helena Stokely. Helena here was a drug-addicted informant in the local hippie community who had made comments to the police officers that she worked with. Helena said that she was high that night, and she was pretty much on any drugs. You can name it, she was on it. And she really couldn't remember the night. But because of this, it caused so much doubt in the prosecutor, and it made Jeffrey look like, well, maybe there was a possibility that he didn't do it. There is more to Helena's story, but I just want to kind of paint just a smaller picture because I don't want this video to be super long. But Helena's story is, the best way I can sum it up is that she was kind of a victim. So because Helena is brought into the mix, they're saying, look, guys, maybe he really didn't do this, you know, like, here's the woman, boots, blonde wig, floppy hat. It's gotta be Helena. The army drops all charges against Jeffrey, and it gets worse. In December of 1970, he is honorably discharged from the army, and just at the start of the new year, Jeffrey decides to peace. He leaves North Carolina and he moves to sunny California to restart his medical career. So, new life, who dis, you know? I mean, I don't blame. Now, remember Freddie? I just talked about him a couple minutes ago. Well, he started noticing a lot of issues in Jeffrey's story, right? At first, he, meaning Jeffrey, would not talk to Colette's parents about the night in question. He didn't tell them anything. They basically got all of their details from the media, the news, everyone else but Jeffrey. He said that it was too hard for him to relive that night. Then Jeffrey denied them access to the transcript of the investigation, and Freddie was constantly asking them because he wanted to really see the events of the night. Maybe he could help in finding the murderers of his family. You know, maybe he can do something besides waiting for the army, who clearly were incapable, of handling this investigation. Maybe there was something that he can do. Freddie wanted to hear the full story, and when he finally got his hands on the transcript, after asking for well over 6 months, he was actually able to get it from the army directly. He found numerous holes and began a manhunt to bring Jeffrey to justice. And in the transcripts, the army discussed why they were able, or why they believed that Jeffrey was lying, and how they were able to see beyond their lies. But because of the crappy investigation they did, they couldn't seal the deal. But they stumbled on a gem. They realized that everyone in the family had different blood type. Jeffrey was B, Colette was A, Kimberly was AB, and Kristen was O. Freddie lobbied for several years to keep the investigation alive and to bring justice. And without Freddie being so diligent and so forceful and writing to this person and that person, this congressman and the Supreme Court, the investigation would have ended with the army's. All right, guys, and here is a little teaser from Fatal Vision, the movie that is inspired by Jeffrey Macdonald's story. As we can see here, we see Freddie Kassab and the prosecutor. They are talking about going to trial. And Freddie is asking a lot of questions about the night in question. And the prosecutor is actually super reluctant on providing any details of the night in question. He just feels like it's not fair for Freddie to hear such the madness that happens, but he reluctantly gives in. And as we are shown here, we do see the layout of the McDonald's home. It was assumed that there was an argument that had started, in which we don't know what the argument was about, but Colette attempts to defend herself with a knife, which would account for maybe some of these small um, nicks and bruises that he does have. At some point throughout the commotion of the night, Kimberly, the 5-year-old, proceeds to walk into the master bedroom, and while Jeffrey is in mid attack, he swings and accidentally hits Kimberly on side of her head. Now we know this based off of the blood evidence. We also know that Jeffrey does move Kimberly because there was blood located on Jeffrey's pajama bottom and top as well. In the meantime, after he places Kimberly in her room, he realizes that he has to make a choice. So he sees the Esquire magazine, and remember, as mentioned, this was 6 months after the Manson killing. So he decides that he's going to take a book, or excuse me, a play right out of Manson's playbook, and he decides to stage the scene. He does go into Kristen's room and unfortunately brutally attacks her. And then he heads into Kimberly's room where he also stabs her several times. Kristen, the youngest, she was very, very, very abused. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go over that again, but eventually, at some point, Colette does come to. Her first instinct is to check on her kids. So she heads into the youngest, the 2-year-old's room, in which Jeffrey proceeds to notice, hey, she's missing. So he finds her, and unfortunately, he bludgeons her to death in the room with the youngest. He proceeds to then carry her back into the master bedroom, and they know this based off of the once again the blood evidence and his the only bloody footprint that was left in the house. He proceeds to go and this is the part that really is upsetting 100%. He proceeds to dip his finger into Colette's blood, write pig on the headboard, drape the bloody pajama top on top of Colette, and proceed to stab her 11 times. He proceeds to then stage the house and also stage his own injuries. They know this because Jeffrey's blood is located on the sink of the bathroom, and it doesn't make sense that it would be there and in the house if he didn't do his self-infliction in that room. So yeah, this is a scene from Fatal Vision. I'm not going to give too much of it away. I definitely think you guys should tune in and watch it. It is an amazing reenactment of the events that happened. But back to the story. The defense used the same defense that they did 9 years prior, and on August 29th of 1979, 9 years after the crime was committed, Jeffrey was convicted of 1 count of first-degree murder for Kristen and 2 counts of second-degree for Colette and Kimberly. He was given 3 life sentences, so he'll never get out. It was said that Jeffrey showed no emotion or nothing. He is currently 77 years old and is being housed at the Cumberland, Maryland facility. He has constantly appealed his case, and in recent events, the 77-year-old was in the news. He actually was trying to reach out to the Supreme Court to see if he can have a compassionate release, which I have never heard of anyone who was convicted of murder, or excuse me, convicted of first-degree murder being compassionately released. But he is asking for that because he is 77 years old and possibly has skin cancer and also contracted COVID while in the prison. Like, you've killed your whole damn family. You need to stay there? No. You need to sit your ass there and rot. Like, that's what you need to do. But he's still alive, of course. And there is a new series on Hulu. I think it's called The Wilderness of Error. And it goes a little bit more in depth about Helena's role in this and like the informants, the police. I gave you guys a watered down version of this story, but one thing that I was taken back about this story is that what is the damn motive? Like, why did you do this? Like, even the prosecutors had such a hard time to try to figure out like why. Many of them believe that they were having an argument. Colette hit him over the head and he just snapped. But to kill your own babies, like, what a dick. I would, of course, love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Do you guys think he's innocent? Do you guys think that he should get another trial? Do you guys think that he should be released based off of his health? How could I honestly, like, because there's no motive, it's so hard for me to say that's the motive. Same thing with like Darlie's case, but in Darlie's case, like, I just don't see how a mother, I mean, we see it all the time when mothers kill their kids, especially like the recent news, you know, that mom that shot her son and killed him for the memory card. So I mean, yes, there are runoffs of when this happens, but the nature of these crimes are so horrific that it makes you wonder, like, how is this possible? And many people have said that Jeffrey Macdonald is a sociopath, and I have watched numerous interviews with Jeffrey and about the story, and he has never changed his story. It's almost like he's just spinning it out, like it's the same. He never breaks away. He gets emotional at the exact same times. It's very odd. It's very creepy, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe jail is the best place, but at the same time, I do have a little bit of doubt. I do have a little bit of doubt. Maybe he had someone to help him. I don't know, but of course, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I just want to say, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. You're my best friend. Don't forget to hit me up on social media. And I will be seeing you guys next week. Actually, next week, I'm going to do a special guest. I mean, he was in a video already, so I guess he's not that special, but I'm gonna have a little special guest. And yeah, I hope you like the video. It's actually from an event that I have no memory of, and many people say I should remember this, but I don't. So yeah, I love and appreciate you guys. Be safe out there. I would say wear your mask, but whatever at this point, right? Ride it out, COVID. Let's ride this B out. But be safe. I love and appreciate you all. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I don't have any nails on, so sad. And I will be seeing you guys next week. Bye. I'm gonna stop saying bye.